Yesterday morning changed everything forever in my life. I walked into the bank with my old brown purse clutched tight against my chest. My hands were shaking like leaves in a strong winter wind. The banker looked at me with the saddest, most worried eyes I'd ever seen in my entire life. "Mrs. Chen," he said so quietly I could barely hear him, "your savings account has been completely empty for many months now." I felt the whole world start spinning around me like a crazy carnival ride. My son Jake had just called me exactly 1 hour before this moment. He said he desperately needed money really fast. "A terrible, horrible car accident," he said with panic in his voice. "Huge hospital bills that had to be paid immediately," he said while crying. His voice was shaking and desperate and scared. But now this banker was telling me something completely impossible, something that couldn't be true. My life savings were totally gone. All of it. Every single penny I'd saved for 30 long years. Gone forever. I sat down really hard in the cold leather chair. My legs felt weak like soft jelly. My whole body was shaking now. The banker handed me a small cup of cold water with his own shaking hands. "Are you okay, Mrs. Chen?" he asked with deep worry filling his voice. "Should I call someone for you?" But I wasn't okay at all. Nothing was okay anymore. Nothing would ever be okay again in my whole life. The bank felt way too cold and bright, too loud with all the normal sounds. People were walking around everywhere doing their normal everyday things, making deposits like always, cashing paychecks like every Friday, standing in lines and talking quietly, living their regular, normal lives like nothing had changed. But my entire world had just exploded into a million tiny pieces right in front of me. Let me tell you exactly who I am and why this matters so much. My name is Linda Chen. I'm 62 years old. I live all alone in a small blue house with pretty white flowers blooming in the front yard. The house has 2 tiny bedrooms and 1 small bathroom. The kitchen is really tiny but warm and cozy. I've lived in that same house for 25 long years. Every month I've paid the rent on time. Every month without fail. I worked at the main post office downtown for 30 long, hard years. Every single day, rain or shine or snow, I sorted thousands of letters and packages. I sold stamps to customers. I helped people send important packages to their families far away. It wasn't exciting work, but it was honest work. Good work. Every single week, without any exceptions, I saved money from my paycheck. Even when times were really, really hard. Even when the rent went up twice. Even when my old car broke down and needed expensive repairs. I always saved something for the future. I raised Jake completely alone after his father left us when Jake was only 5 years old. Jake is my only child in this world. My only real family. The most important person in my life. He's 28 years old now. Tall and very handsome with thick dark hair exactly like his father had. He has my brown eyes and my stubborn chin that sticks out when we're being difficult. I thought I knew him completely. I thought I knew absolutely everything about my own precious son. Jake moved back into my house exactly 6 months ago. It was a cold Tuesday morning in March. He said he'd lost his really good job at the big computer company downtown. He said the whole department got laid off because of budget cuts. He said he needed some time to find something new and better. Something that paid more money. I was actually happy to help him. Really happy. Mothers always help their sons, right? That's what good mothers do for their children. He had his own key to the house. The same silver key I'd given him when he was in high school. He helped me carry heavy grocery bags sometimes when I came home from shopping. He cooked Sunday dinner for both of us. Usually spaghetti with meat sauce from a jar. We watched old movies together on my small TV in the living room. Black and white movies from when I was young. It felt really nice having him home again after so many years. The house felt much less lonely and quiet with him there. But now I was sitting in this freezing cold bank office, staring at a computer screen that showed terrible, horrible numbers. $0.00. 30 years of careful, patient saving. 30 years of going without things I wanted to buy. 30 years of putting money away for emergencies and retirement. All completely gone, vanished like it had never existed at all. When exactly did these withdrawals start happening? I asked the banker with a shaky voice. His name was Mr. Williams, and I'd known him for 15 long years. He'd helped me open my very first savings account back then. He'd always been kind and helpful. Now he looked really uncomfortable and sad, like he didn't want to tell me the awful, terrible truth. The large withdrawals started exactly 6 months ago, Mrs. Chen, he said very, very slowly. Really large amounts of money, every few weeks, like clockwork, sometimes even twice a week. The signature on every withdrawal slip matched yours perfectly every single time. We had no reason to question them at all. 6 months ago. That was exactly when Jake moved back home with me. My stomach felt sick and twisted into knots. But no, I told myself very firmly. Jake would never steal from his own mother. He's my son. My baby boy who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. Sons don't steal from their mothers. That's completely impossible. Unthinkable. I drove home in a complete daze, like I was in a bad dream. My old Honda felt different somehow. Everything in the world felt strange and wrong and upside down. The radio was playing music too loud. The sun was too bright and harsh on my eyes. People were walking around on the sidewalks and smiling like absolutely nothing had changed in the universe. But my entire world was completely broken and destroyed. Jake's blue car wasn't in the driveway when I got home. Good. I needed time to think clearly about this situation. I needed time to understand what was really happening to me. Maybe there was some kind of terrible mistake. Banks make mistakes sometimes, right? Computer errors happen all the time these days. I went straight to my bedroom and opened the small wooden box on my dresser. The box where I kept all my most important papers organized perfectly. Bank statements going back many years in neat piles. Insurance papers sorted by date. Jake's birth certificate from the hospital where he was born. Everything looked exactly normal and in the right place. But then I noticed something very, very strange that made my heart skip beats. The bank statements were missing. The last 6 months of statements. All of them completely gone. I always kept them in perfect order by date because I'm very, very organized about money matters. I check every statement carefully every month. But now there was a big empty gap. A 6-month gap right where the most recent statements should have been sitting. My hands started shaking again. Much worse this time. I sat down heavily on my bed. The same bed where I used to read Jake bedtime stories every single night when he was little. Where I held him tight when he had bad nightmares about monsters. Where I cried alone the terrible night his father left us forever and never came back. The phone rang loud and sharp, making me jump. It was Jake calling back again. "Mom, did you go to the bank yet?" His voice sounded really urgent and worried and impatient. I desperately need that money right now today. This very minute. The hospital people are calling me every single hour demanding payment. I couldn't speak for a long, long moment. My throat felt tight and closed up, like someone was squeezing it. "Jake," I finally whispered in a broken voice. "The account is completely empty. There's no money left at all." Silence. Long, cold, scary silence that seemed to last forever. "What do you mean empty?" he asked me. But his voice had changed completely now. It sounded totally different. Careful and controlled and fake. "All the money is gone, Jake. Every penny. Someone took it all out over the past 6 months." More terrible silence. Then he laughed. A short, nervous laugh that didn't sound real at all. Like he was acting in a play. "Mom, that's completely impossible. You must have made some kind of big mistake. You're getting older now, you know. Sometimes older people get really confused about money things. Maybe you forgot about some withdrawals you made." The words hit me like a hard slap right across my face. Getting older? Confused? Forgot about withdrawals? I'd been handling my own money perfectly well for 40 years. I wasn't confused about anything at all. I was scared and hurt and getting really angry. The banker showed me all the records, Jake. Large withdrawals every few weeks. For exactly 6 months. "Someone has been taking my money." "That's really weird and strange," Jake said. But he didn't sound surprised at all. Not even a little bit. He sounded like he was reading lines from a movie script. Like he was acting. "Where are you right now this minute?" I asked him directly. "At the hospital, of course," he said way too quickly. Much too fast. "With my good friend Tom. Remember Tom? My really good friend from work. He's hurt really, really bad, Mom. Please, can you figure out this bank thing later? Tom needs help right now immediately." But something was completely wrong with his whole story. Jake didn't have any friends from work. He'd been unemployed for 6 whole months. And I'd never, ever heard him mention anyone named Tom. Not even once in passing conversation. "Which hospital exactly are you at?" I asked him. Another long pause that felt suspicious. "St. Mary's," he said finally. "The big one downtown on 5th Street. I have to go right now. The doctors are calling me to discuss Tom's treatment." He hung up the phone before I could ask any more questions. I sat there holding the dead phone in my shaking hands. My heart was beating way too fast and too hard. I felt dizzy and sick to my stomach. This was my son we were talking about. My baby boy who used to bring me dandelions from the yard and call them beautiful flowers. But something was very, very wrong with everything he was telling me. I called my neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, right away. She's lived right next door to me for 20 long years. She knows absolutely everything about everyone on our whole street. She's like the neighborhood grandmother that everyone trusts. If anyone could help me think clearly about this mess, it was Rosa. Rosa, I said when she answered on the very first ring. Can you please come over to my house right now? I need help with something really important and scary. Rosa came over immediately without asking any questions. She's 70 years old but moves around like she's 50. Short and round with gray hair always pulled back in a perfect neat bun. She brought hot tea in a thermos and homemade chocolate chip cookies like she always does when there's trouble in the neighborhood. I told her absolutely everything that had happened. The completely empty bank account, Jake's strange, suspicious phone call, the missing bank statements from my wooden box, his lies about the hospital and his friend Tom who didn't exist. Rosa listened without interrupting even once. Her kind face got more and more serious and worried with every single word I said. Linda, she said finally in a very gentle voice, I need to tell you something important. Something I saw but didn't want to worry you about before now. My stomach dropped down like a heavy rock. What did you see, Rosa? Last month, I was outside watering my flowers really early in the morning. Around 6 o'clock when the sun was just coming up. I saw Jake leaving your house quietly, but he was dressed up really nice, like he was going to an important job interview or something. A suit and tie and everything. He got in his car and drove away really fast. So what's wrong with that? I said, but I already knew exactly why this was important and scary. Linda, Jake told you he was unemployed. He told you he had no job anywhere. Why would he be leaving so early every single day dressed up nice for work if he didn't have a job? I felt cold all over my entire body. Rosa was absolutely right. If Jake had no job anywhere, why was he leaving the house every morning like he was going to work at an office? There's more I need to tell you, Rosa said even more gently. I've been seeing him coming home late at night too. Sometimes really late, like midnight or later. And he usually has shopping bags with him. Lots of expensive-looking bags from really fancy stores downtown. Shopping bags. Expensive ones from fancy stores. Bought with my money. The money I'd saved penny by penny for 30 long years. The money I'd planned to use for retirement someday when I got too old to work. For real emergencies like hospital bills. For the future I thought I still had ahead of me. I started crying then. Not pretty quiet crying like in movies. Loud, ugly sobbing that came from deep inside my chest and hurt my throat. Rosa held me tight like a mother while I cried like a broken-hearted child. My son was stealing from me. My own flesh and blood was lying to my face and stealing everything I had in the world. We need to find out the real truth about what's happening, Rosa said firmly. But we need to be very smart and careful about how we do this investigation. How can I do that? I asked through my tears. How do I spy on my own son? How do I investigate my own child? You don't spy on him, Rosa said. You investigate the facts. There's a big, important difference between spying and investigating. Rosa was absolutely right as always. I needed to investigate this properly and carefully. I needed real facts and solid evidence, not just emotions or fear or desperate hope. Just cold, hard facts that couldn't be argued with. We decided to start by checking Jake's hospital story first. I called St. Mary's Hospital downtown on 5th Street. I asked the receptionist about patients named Tom who'd been in recent car accidents. The woman was very helpful and polite, but also very firm and clear. No patient named Tom had been admitted in the last 2 weeks. No car accident victims named Tom at all in the past month. Jake had lied to me completely. My own son had looked me straight in the eye and lied about everything. Rosa and I sat in my small kitchen drinking hot tea from my best cups. The same kitchen where Jake had eaten breakfast that very morning with me. Where he'd smiled and said, "Good morning, Mom," and kissed my cheek like absolutely nothing was wrong in the world. What do I do now? I asked Rosa, feeling lost and scared. Now we wait patiently, she said calmly. We wait and we watch everything very carefully, and we document every single thing we see and hear. That evening, Jake came home around 8 o'clock like always. He looked completely normal and relaxed, calm like he didn't have a care in the world. He even brought me flowers from the grocery store. Cheap flowers from the checkout line, but still flowers. He was trying so hard to be the perfect, loving son. "Hi, Mom," he said, kissing my cheek softly like always. "How was your day today? Did anything interesting happen?" I wanted to scream at him right then and there. I wanted to grab him by the shoulders and shake him hard and demand the complete, honest truth. But Rosa had told me to stay calm and act completely normal, so I forced myself to smile like nothing was wrong. "Fine, honey," I said. Just a regular day. How's your friend Tom doing at the hospital? Jake's face didn't change at all. Not even a tiny little bit. His smile stayed exactly the same. He's much, much better now. A lot better than this morning. The doctor said he'll be completely okay and can go home soon. More lies. Smooth, easy lies that rolled off his tongue like he'd been practicing them for weeks. Like lying was the most natural thing in the world for him. That's such wonderful news, I said very carefully. Which room is he staying in exactly? I'd really like to send him a nice get-well card and maybe some flowers. For just one tiny second, Jake's perfect smile flickered and changed, like a light bulb that was about to burn out. Oh, he actually got discharged already. Just this afternoon. Really fast recovery, the doctor said. Modern medicine is amazing these days. I said, nodding. I didn't trust myself to say anything more without screaming. Jake cooked dinner for us that night. Spaghetti with sauce from a jar like always. We sat at my small kitchen table and ate together while watching the evening news on my little TV. Just like a completely normal, happy family. But nothing was normal anymore. Nothing would ever be normal again. I was eating dinner with a complete stranger. A dangerous stranger who just happened to look exactly like my son. After Jake went to his room to bed, I called Rosa and whispered into the phone. He lied about absolutely everything. The hospital, his friend Tom. All of it was completely made up. I know, honey, Rosa whispered back. Now, we need to find out what he's really doing with all your hard-earned money. The next morning, Jake left the house early again. All dressed up nice, just like Rosa had described seeing before. I waited exactly 10 long minutes to make sure he was really gone, then drove straight to the bank as fast as I could. Mr. Williams was expecting me this time and had prepared everything. I need to see all the withdrawal records, I said firmly to him. Every single transaction for the past 6 months. I want to see everything. Mr. Williams spread all the papers across his big wooden desk. Transaction after transaction after transaction. Page after page of withdrawals. All of them had my signature at the bottom. But as I looked more and more closely, I started noticing something very strange and suspicious. This isn't how I sign my name, I said, pointing to one signature with my finger. Mr. Williams leaned over his desk to look closely. What do you mean exactly, Mrs. Chen? Look carefully at the L in Linda. I always make it with a little loop at the bottom. See? It's like my trademark. But these signatures don't have the loop at all. And look at the C in Chen. Mine always tilts slightly to the right because of how I hold my pen. But these don't tilt at all. Mr. Williams got very quiet and serious. His face turned pale. Mrs. Chen, are you telling me these aren't really your signatures at all? I'm telling you that someone has been copying my signature, I said. Someone who had lots and lots of time to practice getting it right. We spent the next hour comparing the suspicious signatures to my real ones from older documents in my bank file. Differences were small, but very clear once you knew exactly what to look for. Someone had been forging my name perfectly for months and months. We need to call the police immediately, Mr. Williams said, reaching for his phone. But I wasn't ready for that big step yet. Not quite yet. I needed to be absolutely, completely certain about everything. I needed to know the whole truth before I destroyed my relationship with my son forever. Because once I called the police, there would be no going back ever. I drove home slowly, thinking hard about everything. Then I called Rosa right away. Meet me at my house as soon as you can, I said. We're going to search Jake's room completely and thoroughly. I felt really sick and guilty about invading Jake's privacy like this. It went against everything I believed about respecting people. But he'd invaded my bank account. He'd stolen my entire future. He'd violated my trust in the worst possible way. Fair was fair. Rosa and I waited until we were completely sure Jake wouldn't come home early from wherever he really went every day. Then we went into his messy bedroom together. It looked totally normal at first glance. Messy like it had always been since he was a teenager. Clothes thrown all over the floor. Unmade bed with twisted, dirty sheets. Nothing suspicious or unusual at all. But Rosa was much more thorough and experienced than me at searching. She looked in places I would never think to look in a million years. Under the mattress and box spring, inside pillowcases, behind all his books on the shelf, in pockets of jackets hanging in the closet. Linda, she called from deep inside the closet. Come look at this right now. Hidden way behind his heavy winter coats was a small cardboard shoebox. Inside that box were bank statements. My bank statements. The exact ones that had been missing from my wooden box for months. And there was something else in the box that made my blood freeze solid. Practice sheets. Pages and pages and pages of my signature. Jake had been practicing writing my name over and over and over again. Hundreds and hundreds of times until he got it exactly perfect. Until he could fool the bank tellers completely. I sat down hard on Jake's unmade bed, feeling dizzy. The evidence was right there in black and white, clear as day. My son was a thief. My own precious child was a criminal who had been systematically stealing from me for months. But Rosa found even more things hidden in that box. More papers that made everything even worse. Receipts. Lots and lots of receipts for really expensive things. A brand new laptop computer that cost $2,000. Designer clothes with fancy labels that cost hundreds of dollars each. A gold watch that cost more than I made in 3 whole months. And something that made my blood completely freeze in my veins. Plane tickets. Round-trip tickets to Las Vegas, Nevada. Not just one trip either. Multiple trips over the past 6 months. Every few weeks, like clockwork. First-class tickets that cost a fortune. He's been gambling, Rosa said very, very quietly. Linda, I think Jake has a really serious gambling addiction problem. Gambling. In Las Vegas, the city built on making people lose money. With my money. My life savings that I'd worked and sacrificed for 30 long years to save. The money I'd planned to use for retirement when I got too old to work at the post office. For real emergencies like medical bills. For the secure future I thought I still had ahead of me. I started crying again, but this time it was completely different. This time I wasn't just sad and hurt. This time I was angry. Really, truly, deeply angry in a way I'd never been before in my entire life. We put everything back exactly where we found it, being very careful not to disturb anything. Jake couldn't know we'd discovered his terrible, awful secret. Not yet anyway. We needed to plan our next move very carefully. That evening, Jake came home with more flowers and a bottle of wine. Really expensive wine with a fancy French label. Wine that probably cost $50 or $60. Wine bought with my stolen money that I'd saved penny by penny. "Let's celebrate tonight, Mom," he said, with fake cheerfulness that made me sick. Tom is completely recovered and back home. And I have really exciting news about a great job interview I have tomorrow morning. More lies. So many lies I couldn't count them all. But now I knew they were lies. Now I could hear the fake cheer in his voice. I could see how his eyes didn't quite meet mine when he spoke. I could tell he was acting. We had dinner together at my small kitchen table, like always. Jake talked and talked about his fake job interview. He made up details about the fake company and the fake position. He talked about his fake friend Tom and his fake recovery. He was such a good liar. So smooth and convincing and believable. It scared me how naturally lying came to him. How long had he been lying to me like this? Just these past 6 months since he moved home. Or much, much longer. Years, maybe? Had anything he'd ever told me been completely true? Had our whole relationship been built on lies? After dinner, Jake went out again, like he had every night recently. "Meeting some old friends from high school," he said casually. But I knew exactly where he was really going. He was going somewhere to gamble. Maybe not Las Vegas this time, but somewhere. With whatever money he had left from my account. I called Rosa immediately after he left. "I'm ready to call the police now," I said with determination. "Are you completely, absolutely sure?" Rosa asked. "Once you take this step, there's no going back ever. Your relationship with Jake will never be the same." "I'm sure," I said firmly. "Jake needs real help, professional help that I can't give him, and I can't help him by pretending nothing happened and letting him keep stealing from me." But Rosa had a much better idea that I hadn't thought of. "Let's call your nephew David first before we call the police. He's a lawyer, remember? He'll know the best way to handle this whole complicated situation." David was my sister's oldest son. He lived across town with his wife Sarah and their 2 little kids. I'd helped pay for his college education when his parents couldn't afford the tuition. He didn't owe me anything, but family is family. Family helps family. I called David at home and explained absolutely everything that had happened. The completely empty bank account, the forged signatures, the gambling receipts and plane tickets to Las Vegas, Jake's constant lies about everything. David listened without interrupting even once, just like Rosa had done. When I finished explaining everything, he was quiet for a very long time. "Aunt Linda," he finally said in a serious voice, "this is really, really serious. Jake could go to prison for many years for what he's done. This is major financial fraud, I said. But what else can I possibly do? He stole absolutely everything from me. My whole future. Let me think about this situation overnight, David said carefully. There might be a way to handle this that helps Jake get treatment for his addiction instead of just punishment in prison. That night, I couldn't sleep at all. Not even for a few minutes. I kept thinking about Jake as a little boy. How he used to crawl into my bed during scary thunderstorms and hold on to me tight. How he'd bring me dandelions from the yard and call them the most beautiful flowers in the world. How proud and excited he was when he finally learned to ride his bicycle without training wheels. When had things gone so terribly wrong? When had my sweet, innocent little boy become someone who could look me in the eye and steal from his own mother? What had I done wrong as a parent? The next morning, David came over to my house really early, before Jake woke up. He brought official-looking legal papers and had a very serious expression on his kind face. "I've been thinking about this all night long," he said. "Here's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to confront Jake together as a family. Give him one last chance to confess everything and agree to get help. If he refuses or tries to lie more, then we go straight to the police." "What if he just runs away when we confront him?" I asked, worried. "Then we call the police immediately," David said. "But Jake loves you, Aunt Linda. Despite everything terrible he's done, I still think he loves you. Maybe that love will be stronger than his addiction. Maybe it will save him." We decided to wait until Jake came home from wherever he really went during the day. David would hide in the kitchen and listen while I talked to Jake in the living room. If things went bad or Jake became dangerous, David would be right there to protect me and help. Around 6 that evening, Jake came home looking very different than usual. He looked tired and stressed and really worried about something. His nice clothes were wrinkled and messy. His hair was all messed up like he'd been running his hands through it. He looked like someone who'd had a very, very bad day. Maybe he'd lost more money gambling. "Hi, Mom," he said, but his voice was flat and empty. No fake cheer this time at all. "Jake," I said firmly, "we need to talk right now. Please sit down on the couch." Something in my serious voice must have warned him that something was wrong. His eyes got sharp and cautious and scared, like an animal that senses danger. "What's wrong, Mom?" he asked nervously. "I know about the money, Jake. I know you've been stealing from me for 6 months. All the color completely drained from Jake's face. For one brief moment, he looked exactly like the scared little boy I remembered from long ago. But then his expression got hard and angry and defensive. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said, but his voice was shaking. "I found the practice sheets hidden in your room, Jake. Pages of my signature. The receipts from Las Vegas, the plane tickets. I know you've been gambling with my life savings." Jake stood up really fast, almost knocking over the coffee table. "You went through my private room? You searched through my personal things? You had no right to do that. You stole my life savings," I shouted back. I had every right to find out the truth. We were shouting now, really shouting loud enough for the neighbors to hear. Jake's face was bright red with anger and shame and panic. My heart was breaking into a million pieces. But I couldn't stop now. "You've been lying to me for months about everything," I continued. "The job story, the hospital story, your friend Tom who doesn't exist."
"All lies!"
"You don't understand anything," Jake said desperately, pacing around the room. "I was going to pay it all back. I had a system that was working. I was winning money sometimes. Big money. You weren't winning, Jake. The account is completely empty. 30 years of savings all gone." That's exactly when David stepped out of the kitchen where he'd been listening. Jake spun around fast, looking trapped and desperate and really scared. "Who is this?" Jake demanded, backing toward the door. "I'm David Chen," David said very calmly and firmly, "Linda's nephew. And I'm also a lawyer who specializes in financial crimes." Jake's shoulders sagged down like he'd been punched. All the fight and anger went out of him at once. He collapsed back into the chair like a puppet with all its strings suddenly cut. "It's over, isn't it?" he whispered, looking at his hands. "That depends completely on you and what you choose to do right now," David said. "Are you ready to tell us the truth? The whole, complete, honest truth for once?" Jake looked up at me with real tears in his eyes. Real tears this time. Not the fake tears he'd probably used to manipulate other people. "Mom," he said in a broken, shaky voice, "I'm really sick. I have a problem. A really bad gambling addiction that I can't control. It started small with just a few dollars, but it got bigger and bigger. I couldn't stop myself no matter how hard I tried." Why didn't you tell me about this problem? I asked, sitting down across from him. Why didn't you ask me for help instead of stealing? Because I was so ashamed, Jake said, tears running down his face. Because I knew you'd be disappointed in me. Because I thought I was smart enough to fix it all by myself. I thought I could win back all the money and you'd never have to know. So you decided to steal from me instead of getting help. Jake flinched like I'd slapped him hard across the face. It wasn't supposed to be stealing, Mom. In my mind, it was borrowing. I was going to win it all back and put it back in your account. I had studied all the games. I thought I had figured out a system to beat them. But you didn't beat them, David said quietly. You lost everything instead. I know, Jake whispered. I lost everything. All of it. And I ruined everything between us. Mom, I'm so sorry. I know sorry doesn't fix anything, but I am. I looked at my son crying in my living room. The same living room where he'd played with toy cars as a little child. Where he'd done his homework at the coffee table every night. Where he'd fallen asleep watching Saturday morning cartoons on the old couch. I felt so many emotions all at the same time. I was angry at him. I was hurt by his betrayal. I was disappointed in the man he'd become. But underneath all of that pain, I was still his mother. That would never change. Jake, I said quietly, how much of my money is left? Any of it? Jake couldn't look at me anymore. He stared at the floor. Nothing, he said so quietly I could barely hear him. It's all gone. Every single penny. I lost it all. 30 years of careful, patient saving. Gone forever. My retirement plans. My security blanket. My future. All gambled away by my own son at casino tables in a desert city. David leaned forward in his chair. Jake, here's exactly what's going to happen now. You're going to sign a full confession admitting what you did. You're going to agree to pay back every single penny you stole, even if it takes the rest of your entire life. And you're going to get serious, professional treatment for your gambling addiction starting immediately. And if I don't agree to all of that, Jake asked, then we call the police right this minute, David said firmly, and you go to prison for many years. Financial fraud is a serious felony crime. Jake looked back and forth between David and me for a long time. I could see him thinking hard, trying to find another way out of this mess. There is no other way out, I said, reading his desperate expression. These are your only two choices, Jake. Prison or getting help. Jake was quiet for what felt like forever. Finally, he nodded slowly. What exactly do I have to sign? Pulled out the legal papers he'd prepared. Documents that would make Jake legally responsible for paying back every single dollar he'd stolen from me. It would take him many years, maybe even decades, but it was much better than years in prison. Jake signed all the papers with shaking hands. His real signature this time, not a forgery. Now what happens to me? Jake asked. Now you move out of this house, I said, even though it hurt my heart to say it. Today, tonight, you pack your things and you leave. Mom, please don't make me leave, Jake begged. Where will I go? I don't have any money. I don't have anywhere to live. That's not my problem to solve anymore, I said. The words felt like knives in my throat, but they were true. You're 28 years old, Jake. You're not my responsibility anymore. You made adult choices. Now you face adult consequences. I'll help him find a place to live, David said, and a good treatment program for gambling addiction. But Linda is absolutely right. You can't stay here anymore, Jake. That part of your life is over. Jake packed his things that same night while David and I watched. He didn't have very much, really. Some clothes that he'd bought with my money, his expensive laptop computer, a few books. He put everything in black garbage bags like he was moving out of a college dorm room. When he was ready to leave, Jake stood in the front doorway looking at me one last time. Mom, he said with tears in his eyes, I know you probably hate me now and never want to see me again. But I want you to know that I do love you. I've always loved you, even while I was stealing from you. I don't hate you, Jake, I said, and I meant it. I'm disappointed in you. I'm angry at you. I'm hurt by what you did, but I don't hate you. You're still my son, and that will never change. Will you ever be able to forgive me? He asked. Maybe, I said honestly. Someday, if you get help, if you get better, if you work hard to pay back what you stole, maybe someday I can forgive you. Jake nodded and walked out the door into the dark night. I watched his car drive away from the window until the taillights disappeared. Rosa came over immediately and sat with me while I cried for hours and hours. The next few weeks were the hardest of my entire life. Really, really hard. I had to figure out how to live with absolutely no savings at all. I had to go back to work part-time at the post office, even though I'd hoped to retire soon. I had to learn to budget and save all over again in a way I hadn't done since I was young. But slowly, very slowly, things started getting a little better. David helped me set up a legal payment plan with Jake. $25 every single week without fail. It would take Jake more than 20 years to pay back everything he'd stolen from me. But it was something. It was a start. Jake did go to treatment like he'd promised. Gamblers Anonymous meetings 3 times every week. Group therapy sessions. Individual counseling. He got a job bagging groceries at a supermarket. Not a great job, but an honest job that paid real money. He sent me the $25 every Friday in the mail without ever missing a payment. We didn't talk to each other for the first whole month after he moved out. The silence was painful but necessary. Then he started calling me once a week. Short, awkward phone calls that lasted maybe 5 minutes. "How are you doing, Mom?" He'd ask carefully. "I'm surviving," I'd answer. "How is your treatment going?" "It's really hard," he'd say. "But the counselors say it's necessary for me to get better." "Good," I'd say. "Keep working at it." Slowly, very slowly, we started rebuilding some kind of relationship. Not the relationship we'd had before, because that was gone forever. But something new and different, something more honest and real. 6 months after Jake moved out, he asked if he could come to my house for dinner. Just once. To apologize to me properly and show me how much he'd changed. I thought about it for a week before I said yes. He came with real flowers. Beautiful flowers from a real flower shop, not cheap ones from the grocery store. And he brought something else that surprised me. A check for $500. "I've been working overtime every week and saving every penny I can," he explained. "I want to pay back much more than just $25 a week. I want to show you that I'm serious about making this right." We had dinner together that night. Spaghetti again, but this time it felt different. This time we talked honestly about everything. About his gambling addiction and the treatment he was getting. About my pain and anger and disappointment. About what we both needed to do to heal. "I understand if you never trust me again," Jake said. "Trust has to be earned back slowly," I replied. "But I'm willing to let you try to earn it if you keep working hard." That was exactly 1 year ago now. Jake has kept every single promise he's made to me since that night. He goes to his Gamblers Anonymous meetings religiously. He pays me back more money than required every month. He calls when he says he will call. He visits once a month for dinner, never asking for more. He's still my son, and I still love him. But now he's also a person who stole from me and lied to me for months. Both things are true. Both things will always be true. I've learned to live with that complicated reality. I've learned so many important things from this terrible experience. You can love someone deeply and still protect yourself from them. You can forgive someone without forgetting what they did to hurt you. You can help someone without enabling their bad behavior to continue. Rosa still comes over for tea every single week. She was the friend who helped me see that I wasn't alone in this crisis. That I didn't have to handle everything by myself. Good neighbors and true friends are worth more than money in the bank. David still checks on me regularly and helps me with legal matters. Real family is the kind that helps without expecting anything in return. The kind that stands by you when everything falls apart. As for Jake, he's still working every day to rebuild his life from scratch. It's slow, hard work that will take many more years. But he's doing it 1 day at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 payment at a time. I'm doing the same thing in my own way, rebuilding my life, my savings account, my ability to trust, my sense of security about the future. It's slow work for me too, but I'm making progress. Some people ask me if I regret confronting Jake about the theft, if I wish I'd just ignored what happened and kept my son close to me instead of making him leave. The answer is absolutely no. I don't regret it at all. Jake needed to face real consequences for his actions. He needed to hit rock bottom before he could start climbing back up. Covering up his crimes wouldn't have helped him get better. It would have just made his addiction worse. Sometimes real love means saying no to someone you care about. Sometimes love means letting someone face the painful results of their bad choices. Sometimes love means protecting yourself so you can still be there for them when they're finally ready to change. My bank account isn't empty anymore like it was that terrible day. It's not full like it used to be after 30 years of saving, But it's growing again, slowly but surely. Every week I put a little money away, just like I always did before. And I'm not empty anymore either. I'm still hurt by what happened. I'm still changed forever by Jake's betrayal. But I'm not empty inside. I'm still here. I'm still fighting. I'm still surviving and moving forward with my life. That's my complete story. The story of the empty bank account and the son who emptied it. The story of betrayal and addiction and consequences. The story of the long, hard work of healing and forgiveness and rebuilding trust. What would you do if you were in my exact situation? Would you have called the police immediately? Would you have tried to hide the truth and pretend nothing happened? Would you have forgiven faster or taken longer to forgive? I honestly don't know if I made all the right choices along the way, but I made the choices I could live with, the choices that felt right in my heart, and that's all any of us can do when life falls apart. Thank you so much for listening to my story with patience and understanding, for knowing that sometimes the people we love most in this world are the ones who can hurt us most deeply, for understanding that healing and forgiveness are possible, even when they seem completely impossible. Please share this story if it helped you in any way. Please leave a comment if you've been through something similar with someone you love. We're all just trying to figure out how to love people without destroying ourselves in the process, with love and respect and hope for better days ahead. Until next time.